He's from, and they're from Bangalore. Quite a few Bangalore.
South Indian.
South Indians. And we have people from Tamil Nadu, Bangalore, Punjab. Definitely no Gujaratis today.
Fully international. No, I was going to say Kim Cha.
What we have here, Kim Cho.
Madhyama, Acharya Kare, or Sakyama.
Sakyama. That is Tamil. Yes.
Well, very good. So it's okay if I speak English then.
Yes. Come forward. Yeah, nice and easy. Shall we close this? No, really space. Yeah. That's okay. They want to
Give a little introduction for yourself. Can I give a little introduction about you?
So everyone sit down, relax, BCAIS.
So the boys, maybe the children can come a little bit forward.
Yeah.
Come on. So this is Mukund and Atar, Manish's son. Radha, please come forward.
5 years old, 1 is 11 years old.
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
We have full house, Maharaj.
Well, there's always room for one more.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for having me, Manish Bhai and Mataji. Thank you. Bahut dhanyavad. Yes. I can speak some Hindi, Bhojpuri to some degree.
That's
Not too well. Not too bad. All right, so let us begin. You can repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Right, let me just say a few prayers. Nama Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyacha Deshatane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivastadi Gaura Bhakta
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakam Trulipyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Bhavadevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. We offer our respects to all the devotees. Excuse me. Okay, so we can say a few words about accepting a spiritual master Diksha and different types of Diksha and the relationship with the spiritual master. Yeah. So of course there's very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita which everybody knows. Chapter 4, verse 34. Do you know chapter 4, verse 34? Maybe. Anyway, you know that verse. Tadvidi paripatena harikrashnena sevaya upadeshanti jnanam jnanasadavarshanah. Yes, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master and inquire from him, render service unto him, these self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. To see the truth as opposed to just sort of theoretically have some idea, something like that. That's the difference between Gyan and Vigyan. I think you'd be familiar with those terms, particularly Gyan, I imagine. Gyan means kind of like, you could say, theoretical, yeah, like book knowledge. You just read it in the book, so you know something about it. And Vigyan means that you've realized it, you've seen it. It's no longer just ideas, but it's fact. In fact, we use this term in English, realization. I'm sure you're familiar with that term. And if you think about it, what it means is realization. It becomes real instead of just being like some ideas or some theoretical points, something of that sort. So this is what happens when one takes shelter of a spiritual master, and really, it's not a small thing actually. It's a deep commitment. It's a deep relationship. Just like, you could say, when people get married, it's a deep relationship. It's a deep commitment. You all know that very well. And it's not, particularly when actual marriage is there, it's not at all casual or sort of take it or leave it type of thing. It's, that's reality for you. It should be, at least. So accepting a spiritual master is like that. And Krishna, in that verse, chapter 4, verse 34, Krishna mentions two particular activities which are involved. Pariprashnena and Sevaya. Those of you who are North Indian, you would know the word prashna, question, inquiry, like that. I don't know in Tamil, my Tamil is not so good. In fact, it's very bad. But I know what the word is in Tamil for inquiry or question or something along those lines. But anyway, you all understand English. So prashna, pariprashnena, in Sanskrit, when the ending is ena. If you know a little Sanskrit, I'm sure some of you studied a bit in school in India, right? When the ending is ena, it means by that, by doing that. Yeah, so pariprashnena, by asking questions, by inquiring. In other words, being interested to understand and get to know what the subject, Krishna consciousness, what Dharma really is. Now, Srila Prabhupada would say that, he said once or twice at least, that if at the end of the class no one asks any question, it means either everybody understood everything, it's all clear, or even, maybe I shouldn't say it, people are a bit too stupid, or just embarrassed maybe. Sometimes people are embarrassed. But inquiry involves asking questions and clarifying and finding out and like that. So the spiritual master is something like Prabhupada would say, at least in English terms, something like the spiritual professor. Spiritual professor. I'm sure many of you have been to university, and you can get a bachelor's degree. If you work a bit harder, you can get honors. If you work harder, you can get masters. But to get PhD, that's not so many, not very many. And its professor means like on that type of level, really just very, very conversant in the subject, and therefore basically able to answer practically any question within reason, at least any question about Krishna consciousness. Like Prabhupada, he could answer any question on Krishna consciousness, but something like, how do you drive a motor car? That was not required for a spiritual master to know that, although, some will know. How to operate a computer. Many spiritual masters now, they know how to do that, but it's not necessary for a spiritual master. What is necessary is to understand Krishna. Who is Krishna? What is Krishna? What is his position? And then how to approach him. How to develop a relationship with him. What is the significance of that? So anyway, that's the pariprashnena part. And then pariprashnena sevaya. Krishna says sevaya. That you must render service. You must do something. You get the knowledge upon which you can develop your life and improve your life. That knowledge, that understanding. So you have to reciprocate. And you reciprocate through serving the spiritual master. There are different ways of serving. Srila Prabhupada particularly, he appreciated if his disciples would try to help spread Krishna consciousness, give it to other people. He really appreciated that, like distribute his books. And, believe it or not, devotees and friends, I came to Nottingham first. I think it was 1973. Where were you in 1973? Previous lifetime. But I came here in 1973. I joined in London, January the 7th, 1973. Though I'm actually born in New Zealand and lived there for 21 years, but then I came here. And Prabhupada really appreciated it. If we feel that, yes, I got some benefit through the knowledge and the clarity that it gives on what is life and who am I and who is Krishna and what to do in life, then we should reciprocate by sevaya, by doing some service. And there are all sorts of different services, like I mentioned, preaching, distributing literature, just speaking to people. And like I said, I came here in 1973. It was during the summer, kind of earlier summer. It might have been May or June or something like that. With a group of devotees, we were traveling all around England and distributing Prabhupada's books. So I remember being here in the centre of Nottingham somewhere. And when I was a child, Nottingham is famous. You know why? Robin Hood. Most of the people, if they've heard of Nottingham, it's because of Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham. And who was it? Do you know these things? John, there was some Big John or something. I forget the exact. Big John, was it? Little John.
Little John and Big John, right?
Oh, right. And Friar Tuck. This is all, either fairy tales or the history, I don't know. But that's how I had heard of Nottingham. And I came here and I found it's just a big city. So, yeah. And this whole thing, Prabhupada made an interesting point about initiation, as opposed to just reading the books and learning like that. Yeah. Prabhupada gave the example that, generally speaking, at least in Western countries, anyone can attend a lecture in the university. As far as I know, when I was studying in university in Auckland, you could just walk into any lecture and sit there and learn. And you can buy the books, of course, in the bookshop, and away you go. So one devotee, one disciple actually asked Prabhupada, what's the need for being initiated and really accepting a spiritual master and making like an official commitment? Because it's like, when you get married, it's official. There's documentation to be signed. It's official. Otherwise, boy and girl can always, sort of just hang out together, and so many just do, and they don't bother with getting married. But there's really a big difference. So similarly, if you just buy the books and attend the lectures, then, you can learn a lot. But you won't get the degree. You won't get the degree. And you can tell people when you go to get the job that, well, I don't have the degree, but I sat in all the lectures and I read all the books. But you're not going to get the same opportunities as if you have the degree, the actual document, the diploma, which proves, oh yes, you are qualified. So like that, Prabhupada made that point, that by being initiated means through the parampara, the disciplic succession, you are being connected through the line to Krishna. Yeah. It's an official connection. It's like having a diploma that you can show. Yes. And when you're connected with Krishna, you know what happens? Lots of mercy comes down. Lots of mercy. And lots of nectar. And you feel it. You feel it so strongly, that connection. Otherwise, if it's unofficial, well, then we say, good luck, but it's not the same. In other words, you have to be connected through the immediate spiritual master, who is connected, initiated by his spiritual master, and so on, one by one through the line, until you get to Lord Brahma, who was initiated by Krishna personally, and then Krishna himself. And so then you're connected to the source. You're connected to the source. And others who want an unofficial connection. I mean, Krishna knows all of us. He knows every living entity. He even knows the cockroaches and the ants and, the little creatures and every living entity he knows. But he accepts as a member of, you could say, his team, his family, his group. He accepts those who have been accepted by his representatives, by his people. Yeah. That's how Krishna works. That's how Krishna works. In other words, you could say that in Krishna consciousness, it may not be so much what you know, but who you know. You've got to know the right people. And when I say know, I don't mean just sort of chat with them, but be connected in that relationship of initiation. And then Krishna accepts you as one of his people. It's very special connection. Yeah, otherwise, it's unofficial. There's no real depth to it. So therefore it's good to hear that a number of you, some of you are initiated. How many here, in Nottingham, are actually 5 people?
I think myself. Initiated, you're asking? Yes.
In Nottingham, not just in this room.
Oh, in Nottingham?
Yeah.
You got probably 5 to 7.
Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think rather from 8 actually.
Okay. Well, that's not bad.
8, yeah.
When will there be 80?
We're trying to.
Keep working on it. Don't make it cheap.
No.
Don't make it cheap. Back when I first joined in the mid-70s, then there was the Bhakta program in the temple, getting people to join the temple and become full-time devotees. So there was a competition internationally, just like now there's competition on book distribution. There was a competition. Who could make the most devotees? And there was a competition. It means for one seeker, means someone's head was shaved. You get X number of points. So you know what they would do? They would find like homeless people.
Oh my.
Seriously, in London. And these unfortunate people who just, life has sort of passed them by, and they would bring them to the temple, shave their heads, there you go, one seeker, and you get, 5 points or something. And then that way England could beat America. But we don't want to do like that. Because, people like that, almost, at least so many of them, they just drift off later on. Even very quickly. But we want real devotees, the real thing. People who are really committed. And if the spiritual master is accepted, with commitment, with appreciation, and with understanding of the principle and appreciation of the particular person, the actual spiritual master you're accepting. Oh, it's such a transformational thing and beneficial thing. And it's so important that Lord Ram. You all know Lord Ram. Lord Ram accepted a guru. He accepted a guru. And when he accepted the guru, he really accepted. It wasn't just official. Like, I imagine some of you, at least you know the practice, and maybe some of you have been through it. The family priest, the family guru, comes when you're 8 years old or whatever it is, and gives you, in some cases, gives you a thread, and there you go. It's a type of initiation, but, it doesn't mean much, really. So therefore, in ISKCON, all over the world, in India, here in England, and just all over, people who have received that, we give them initiation again, because we know, it's it's a bit silly, really. Doesn't really mean much in most cases. It's just a formality. Yeah, for a child, usually for a child. So, but anyway, Lord Ram, he was initiated, and he was deeply committed to his spiritual master. And Lord Krishna, he was initiated. Do you know the name of Lord Krishna's guru?
No? You heard about Rama, you heard this, Sandeep.
Sandipani Muni is the guru of Krishna. Yeah. And Prabhupada made the point that we can see that Krishna really accepted him as guru, not just teacher. Like, you're at school, right? You're at school or maybe university, and we've all been through all of that. And, a teacher, usually you change teachers every year, oftentimes. And so, you don't take them so seriously. We would get up to mischief when the teacher would go out of the room. We would get up to mischief. So when we'd hear the footsteps, he's coming back, we'd be very good again. But you don't do that. Krishna didn't do that with Sandipani Muni. And in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada makes the point that you can see it because, particularly, there was one incident, you're probably familiar, that Sandipani Muni asked Krishna, and I think Sudama, the Brahmin, Krishna's one of his friends, he asked them one afternoon to go out and collect firewood. So they went out into the forest, and they're collecting some distance away, and suddenly big storm came. And the whole night was big storm. But they just took shelter under some tree and tolerated that difficulty. And the next morning, Sandipani Muni came out with some other of his disciples, and they looked around, and then they found them. And Sandipani Muni thanked Krishna that you accepted such difficulty for me. Thank you very much. So Prabhupada makes the point that this shows Krishna accepted him as guru because he accepted some difficulty in the service of his guru. And he didn't complain. Krishna, he's God. He can always say, if Sandipani Muni says, Krishna, I want you to go out and collect firewood. Okay. Krishna can always say, listen, Sandipani Muni, I happen to be God. And Therefore, you don't tell me to go out and fetch the wood. Get someone else to do it. You see. But Krishna didn't do that. And even Krishna, when he was out there in the forest and then the storm came, Krishna, he's Yogeshwar. He's the master of all mystical powers. If he wanted to, he could just have transported them back in 1 second back to the ashram and to the shelter from the storm, but he didn't. He'd already killed many demons. Many demons he killed, hundreds of them. He'd already lifted Govardhan Hill and held it for 7 days and 7 nights. Yeah. Before he went to school, before he went to Mathura and then studied under Sandipani Muni, he'd already done that. So to do something like if there was a hill nearby, he could have just lifted that hill and stayed under that for 1 night. No problem. But they didn't do that. He didn't do that. He accepted the difficulty and they just went under a tree. So therefore Krishna was demonstrating the fact that I am not going to, what would you say, take advantage of my very high position and make some special arrangement here. I will just accept the situation as it is in service to my guru. So in different ways, Krishna showed that he accepted. Well, like at the end, you know the story. At the end, Sandipani Muni and his wife, they had lost a child or some children.
His
Son. His son, lost his son. And so Krishna, as like a dakshin, you know that term, Guru Dakshin. So at the end, Krishna went and recovered the child. So Krishna showed that he accepted being a disciple of a guru, even though if anybody does not need to accept a guru, it's Krishna. But he did it to illustrate the point and make the point by example. Yeah. And then Lord Chaitanya, same thing. Lord Chaitanya accepted a spiritual master who, any of you youngsters, I'm testing you youngsters, who was Lord Chaitanya's guru? Anyway, I'll tell you. How about Ishvara Puri was the guru of Lord Chaitanya? And Lord Chaitanya, it's a very nice description how Lord Chaitanya, he had met Ishvara Puri previously in Navadvip about a year before. Ishvara Puri, because Lord Chaitanya was appeared in a Brahmin family, Jagannath Mishra, Mother Sachi, and Ishvara Puri is Brahmin, and he was traveling around, and he visited that town, and he needed a place to stay, but it should be with a Brahmin family, and they were important members of the Brahmin community. He came and stayed with them, and Lord Chaitanya was the son, or one of the sons at least in the family, and he got the association of Ishvara Puri. He was very impressed, but then later approximately a year later, Lord Chaitanya's father, Jagannath Mishra, passed away. And Lord Chaitanya went to Bihar. He went to Bihar, to Gaya, to do the last rites for his father. So he went to that, the Vishnupad temple there and did all the different things they do in memory of his father. But then he met Ishvarapuri again there in Gaya. They just happened to be there at the same time. And so Lord Chaitanya asked him for initiation. And Ishvarapuri initiated him. And then when Lord Chaitanya was initiated, he asked Ishvarapuri that now I'm initiated, what should I do? What service should I do? And Lord Chaitanya actually suggested, he's just sort of it's a pastime. It's a leela. It's not really a serious suggestion. And Ishvarapuri said, no, don't do that. And then he said, you know what he said? Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasjeva, 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 Gatia Anyata. That just chant the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names of Hari, Krishna. Not, with all due respect, not of Lord Shiva or Durga or Kali Ma or, whoever else. Not, like Madraviran, if you're from Tamil Nadu. If you've heard of Madraviran, it's a minor demigod. Or like, what's his name? What's his name? The who? Subramanian. Okay, Subramanian. And the one who has a peacock with him. And Muruga. In Tamil, Muruga. Yeah, in Tamil it's Muruga. We have lots of Tamils in South Africa, where I'm based. And they don't speak Tamil. They speak English. We get a few speaking Tamil. Not many. But anyway, Muruga, and so on and so forth, Ganpati. Don't chant their holy names. They're big people, they're bigger than us, but they're not on the level of Krishna. So Hari Nam means the name of Hari, means of Krishna. Yeah, chant. That's what you must do. That's what Ishvarapuri instructed Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya, he was staying there in Gaya for some few days. So he went off to the place. This is just the night of the day he was initiated. He went and he was chanting and chanting and chanting and chanting and chanting. Forget 16 rounds. He just chanted 24/7. So that night he went back and he chanted. And of course, Lord Chaitanya, when he chants, Lord Chaitanya does not chant while watching television. For example, yeah, that's, some devotees do that. It's not such a great idea. Or watching Bollywood. Kuch kuch hota hai. While chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Or what they call it, Om Shanti Om. Anyway, I'm not up with the latest. I know those are old ones. Some of you might know what's the latest Bollywood. Aishwarya and Abhishek instead of Radha and Krishna. or Sita and Ram. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya went back to wherever he was staying, and he was chanting and chanting and chanting. And because his chanting is perfect, pure chanting, no nonsense, no other thoughts, what about work tomorrow? What about the government? No other thoughts, just chanting and hearing the chanting, fully absorbed, 108%. So therefore, when he chanted, then the result of perfect chanting came, means overwhelming ecstasy. When we chant, if we're having a good day and we're chanting and we really get into it, then we become very happy, and the anxieties just go away, and it's great. What an experience. It's wonderful. If we're having a good day, or just, whenever we chant nicely. But we're not on that level yet where that overwhelming ecstasy comes, that a person finds they're chanting but tears are coming from their eyes, their bodies are shaking uncontrollably, their hair is standing on end, and various other things. The Ashta Sattvika Bhavas, the 8 main symptoms of ecstasy. There are many, but there's 8 main ones. Lord Chaitanya, he was so overwhelmed that he couldn't chant. He was trying to chant, but he couldn't get the mantra out. Like Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, when he was in Rathayatra, Lord Chaitanya, he'd turn and he'd see Jagannath on the chariot, and he'd see him as Krishna, and he would try to chant, Jagannath, Jagannath, Jagannath. He'd try, but what would come out would be Jajagaga, Jajagaga, Jajagaga. He just couldn't manage it because he was so overwhelmed with ecstasy. And the same thing happened that first night. He ended up not being able to chant properly because he was chanting so purely and so perfectly that the full manifestations of love of God just overpowered him. Love of God because he's acting as a devotee. So anyway, the next morning he came back to Ishvarapuri and he asked him, what sort of mantra have you given me? What is this mantra? Because as soon as I start chanting, it becomes too much. And Ishvarapuri understood that Lord Chaitanya, it's his pastime, it's his leela. Yeah. And so Ishvarapuri just laughed and didn't bother replying because he knew this is just the pastime of the Supreme Lord. Yeah. So the thing, the difference between his chanting and our chanting is that we commit offenses. There's the 10 offenses in chanting. Sometimes when we initiate devotees, normally we're meant to explain about the 10 offenses. Prabhupada always did that. Sometimes we ask the devotees who are getting initiated, what are the 10 offenses? It really puts them on the spot. And sometimes they forget them. But that's the difference between our chanting and the chanting of, in this case, Lord Chaitanya. But if we follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, following the instructions of our spiritual master, then our chanting will become better and better and easier and easier and nicer until, Prabhupada was asked one time, how can you know if your chanting is of good quality? How can you know? And Prabhupada, and it's a little bit of a long story, but to cut it short, Prabhupada said, you will know when your chanting is of good quality, when you feel, why just 16 rounds? Why not 16,000? That when you feel like Lord Chaitanya one time, he's acting as a devotee to instruct us who must become proper devotees. So Lord Chaitanya one time in Jagannath Puri, he was on his way to the bathroom, to the toilet, and then to take a shower. And there was one little boy there who was 5 years old. How old are you?
8.
8. Oh, well, you're big. How old are you?
5.
Okay, your age.
No, 5.
I know. 5. It's okay, relax. And what's your name?
Artav.
Atav. All right. So Lord Chaitanya, this little boy, his name was Gopal. He was your age. He was 5. But, even though he was only 5, he knew a lot about Krishna consciousness. He was a very good devotee already, even though he's 5. So Lord Chaitanya, Gopal is there, sort of by the path on the way to the bathroom, and Lord Chaitanya comes by. But the thing is, Lord Chaitanya was holding his tongue with his fingers, sticking his tongue out, holding his tongue. And Gopal said, my Lord, why are you holding your tongue? And Lord Chaitanya said, well, the thing is, I am going to the bathroom, to the toilet, and it's a very dirty place. And Krishna is personally present in his names. So if I go into the bathroom and I chant, Krishna will have to experience the smells and whatever else, just the general uncleanliness which is there. And that's not nice. It's offensive to expose Krishna to that. So therefore, in the bathroom, I must not chant. So Lord Chaitanya said, the problem is I cannot stop chanting. Therefore, I'm holding my tongue to make sure I don't chant in the bathroom. And Gopal, same age as Artav, 5. Punch. Gopal said, my Lord, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to you don't need to stop yourself chanting in the toilet. And Lord Chaitanya said, really? Can you explain why? And Gopal, 5 years old, he said, in Shastra, in scripture, it says that when the time of death comes, you must chant. You must chant. And the time of death is more contaminated. It's more dirty than the bathroom. So therefore, you can chant in the bathroom. It's okay. And Lord Chaitanya said, Gopal, thank you so much. You have enlightened me. You have helped me. And Lord Chaitanya said, actually, Gopal, you are my guru. And so everybody heard about this. So Gopal, then his name, they adopted the name. 5 years old, they would call him Gopal Guru. And he became the head of our sampradaya. Later, when he was an adult, he became just very great leader amongst the great devotees. Gopal Guru Goswami. Yeah. So anyway, so the point in this regard is we got to chant. And if you chant nicely, if you apply yourself, if instead of thinking, oh gosh, I've got to chant 16 rounds, oh boy, oh, some hard work. Or maybe at night, maybe it's 8 o'clock at night, and you check your counting beads, and you see, oh no, it's 8 o'clock. I got to chant another 5 rounds. Oh, what a shame. But rather, you should think, oh, wonderful. 4 rounds I can chant. That's great. Thank you, Krishna. And Prabhupada was asked once, what is the result of chanting? He was asked by a person who was like, you're familiar with the term by now, one of our adopted ISKCON terms, a demigod worshipper. You know the idea, right? Worshipper of Lord Shiva is particularly popular, or Ganesh, or Durga, etc., etc., or Muruga, if you're Tamil. Yeah, so, I've been in Kuala Lumpur. I don't know if any of you have been there. Many Tamils, and they speak Tamil at home. And sometimes when we give class, it has to be translated. But during the, whatever time it is, they do the big Muruga festival, Kavadi. They carry Kavadi. Kavadi. Yeah. Artav. Relax. You're 5, you're a big boy. You've got to follow in the footsteps of Gopal Guru. Be like a really good devotee. So yeah, we go up to the cave. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
It's big. There's about 1 million people come over a few days, and they all go up to the cave. And there's some sort of Shiva linga up there. So yeah, we've got to chant the holy names of Krishna. Of course, Krishna has many names, and you could chant. Prabhupada introduced Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya to the devotees. So there are different mantras, but the Maha Mantra is the main mantra. We should chant Hare Krishna, because Krishna, his position is different. He's not just another one of the gods, and you can choose, like as your Ishta Deva. You could choose this one or that one, or Krishna, or somebody. So many gods are there. Demigods. We have to really chant Hare Krishna. And the more we chant, quality means you chant it properly and you hear it properly. Yeah. Yeah. And then you really develop a taste, because Krishna's present in his name. And Krishna is the personified form of bliss, Param Ananda, supreme bliss. Krishna is the personified form. And when you chant, then he is present. In your mouth, he's dancing on your tongue, and then he goes in through your ears, and there's a direct channel from the ears to the heart. The sense of hearing is the strongest of all the senses, stronger than sight, sense of hearing. And it goes, and there's a direct channel to the heart. So when you chant nicely and you hear nicely, oh, it is really quite an experience. Really wonderful experience. Much better than watching Bollywood. Excuse me for saying that. So yeah, and it's very important, for people brought up in the Hindu kind of world to be able to distinguish between Krishna and his expansions, Vishnu, Narayan, Nrsingadev, Varaha, Vamana, etc., so many are there, to distinguish between Krishna and his expansions and the demigods. Yeah, because I know in South Africa, most of the devotees are from Hindu background. Oh, yes. And I've been there. I've been in South Africa for 43 years. And before, I was staying in London, mainly enrolling life members. And, and I know old habits die hard. And, many devotees, I go and stay in their houses in South Africa. And they've got a nice altar. Then I go down the corridor in the house, and in one cupboard, there's another altar. And seriously, I'm not joking. I am not joking at all.
These are devotees practicing.
They're practicing.
No.
They're initiated.
Initiated.
Yeah. They have another altar down the back. And who's there? Of course, Lord Shiva's there. He's particularly popular. Hanuman may be there. Hanuman's different because he's a devotee. Yes.
I would just like to add to this. What happened is because I'm from Mauritius, not far from South Africa, so it's a bit related. I have been seeing devotees was practicing karma kind of thing.
Yes, right.
So because they had it in their house, they could not feel comfortable to take them out of the house and bring, as if they're bringing Krishna, but they can't take the demigods out. That's why they kept it, but they kept it somewhere in the house. I don't know if that...
Wait, very bon. Yeah. Okay, bien bon. To correct.
Oh, you know, do the Creole thing. Sorry. Yeah.
Next time I go to Mauritius, I told them I would give a class in Creole.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I'll be able to. But what should be done? Yeah, I mean, you've raised an important point, because you don't want to just chuck them away.
Yes.
No, that's not nice.
No.
It's really not. It's really improper. They should find some nice Hindu family who will look after them nicely.
Yeah.
That's what they should do.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that now we're becoming Krishna conscious. Now the demigods are like, nonsense or something. They're not. They're very great. They're much greater than us. And actually they're devotees. They're devotees. Lord Shiva, one of his names is Ashutosh. Asha, desire. Tosh, he satisfies. Yeah, he easily satisfies, therefore he's popular. So, of course I don't want to go on forever, but let me make this point. That Lord Shiva You see pictures of Lord Shiva? Aha. Yes. Discipline. Assise.
Sit there. Thank you.
Okay. So, right, Lord Shiva, Ashutosh, it is his duty to Krishna to give people what they want if they worship him properly. It's his duty. It's not like he's misguided. You know, he's not misguided. He's a devotee. So it's not that he's misguided and he thinks that, yeah, if I give people cars and houses and money and all that, that I'm doing them a favor. He's a devotee. He understands that I'm not doing them a favor, but I have to because it's my duty. Yeah, as a demigod, as a deva. So, Lord Shiva, you see oftentimes pictures, I mean, if they're sort of valid depictions, you see Lord Shiva sitting, eyes closed, and he's got his mala, and he's chanting. Generally, traditionally, he's chanting the name of Lord Ram, Lord Shiva. Since participating in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, Lord Shiva, as Advaita Acharya, he's chanting Hare Krishna. Yeah, not just the name of Ram. But anyway, there he is. He's sitting chanting, eyes closed, just relishing the holy name of the Lord. And along comes someone, some Karmakandiya person. Lord Shiva, here I am. I got my shopping list. Here, you must give me. So Lord Shiva says, give it to me quickly. And he looks at the shopping list. Okay, you want new Mercedes-Benz. I tell you what, take 2 Rolls-Royces. And you want a nice house in the estate in Nottingham, take a mansion or take a couple of palaces. And you want what else? Oh, you want television to watch Bollywood. Listen, take 10 of them and go. And just get out and leave me to chant. Because that's where the nectar is for him in his chanting. And it's not that he thinks, oh, I'll give you a TV and so you can watch, whoever it is, some Bollywood, and that's great. But he knows this will entangle them further in material life, but I have to do it. It's my duty. Like that. Yeah, and therefore he's Ashutosh. He quickly fulfills their desires, so they go and leave him alone so he can chant. And with all the demigods, it's like that actually. They're all devotees. And, I don't know if you've read Bhagavatam at all. In the first canto, there's the story of Vyas. Vyas thought he had completed all the Vedic literatures. He thought. But he was feeling dissatisfied. And he was wondering, I have completed all knowledge. Why am I feeling dissatisfied? I should be feeling completely satisfied. So Narad came. Narad is his guru. And Narad explained to him, the reason you're not feeling satisfied is because you have not sufficiently glorified Krishna. So you go back to the drawing board, and now, actually, Narada gave him like an experience through meditation in which he realized the Bhagavatam in detail. the story of Krishna in detail. And then, so when he went into that meditation, then he compiled the Bhagavatam as we have it, more or less. But in his meditation, he saw different things. He saw the Lord. He saw the spiritual world. He saw these different things. And he saw Durga, the deity, presiding deity and controller of material nature. And Durga, he saw, was standing in the back. She was not forward. She was standing in the back, looking embarrassed, because she knew that my service, it's a service. It's not, I'm not doing it because I want to, but it's my service to the Lord, is to capture the living entities and drag them into illusion in this material world. So they get entangled in the path of samsara, birth and death in this world. What a duty to have. It's a terrible duty. So she feels very bad, but she has to do it because it's her service to the Lord. So therefore she was standing back. She felt embarrassed to be in the company of the Lord. Yes. So, yeah. So then Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, which is really, in and of itself, it's the particular scripture, which is the particular key in terms of scriptures for becoming delivered from this world. Already Vishnu Purana was existing. If any of you are or know people, well, from South India, you get people from the Sri Sampradaya. They go to Tirupati, Sri Rangam, places like that, Kanchi. Yeah, followers of Ramanuja. Yeah, so anyway, they worship Narayan. They worship Lord Narayan. And they take him to be the supreme. But actually, Ramanuja commented, you've heard of Ramanujacharya, he commented on Vishnu Purana. It's their main literature. But Vyasadeva, when he was feeling dissatisfied, he had already compiled Vishnu Purana, already, as it's known now, more or less. He'd already compiled Padma Purana, Shiva Purana, all these other Puranas, which are the last of the Vedic literatures, the conclusions. He'd compiled all of them, but he was still feeling dissatisfied. It was only when he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam under the direction of his guru, Narad, that he became satisfied. Then he taught it to his son, Shukadev, and Shukadev then instructed it to Maharaj Parikshit, and Sutta Goswami was there. Yeah. So, therefore, Vaishnavism, I mean, it may sound funny that here's a white man, not brought up as a Hindu, knew virtually nothing about it. And here he is telling you what to do. Anyway, sorry.
No.
Yeah. You'll see that as you get into Krishna consciousness, you'll see that what we're saying is actually correct. And that in Hinduism, I mean, of course, in Hinduism is so variegated, you can't really put your finger on one thing as distinct from others often. But actually, Vaishnavism, based on Srimad Bhagavatam, is it's propounding the highest truth. Anyway, you're devotees. And are you initiated, actually? What's your name?
Ranjit Krishna Das.
Ranjit Krishna Das. Okay. From where in Mauritius?
As you know, there's two temples,
ISKCON Temple.
ISKCON temple, and the Chaitanya Sattva.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yes, I'm initiated by Sri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj.
Oh, I see. Okay.
From Nowadays.
Right. That temple is down the highway when you come down the hill.
There's two temples. One is it's not far from each other, but there's one close to new one is
Montagne Blanche.
Montagne.
Oh, Montagne Long.
That's where it's in a village.
Right.
But there's lots of devotees, and there was some another. It's a new temple which is in Pierre Rouge, which is
Down the bottom there.
It's not far from
Montagne.
Yeah, Montagne. There's not, but it's not far from ISKCON temple either.
Yeah. No, I've been there.
But Mauritius is small, so you can travel anywhere.
Right. Gambol. TK. Hare Krishna. Should we let them ask questions, or is it too late?
It's up. I don't know your time schedule. You have to tell us.
I don't know either.
We've got some time.
We got some
Leave at
time.
12:30.
Yeah, leave at
12:30.
half 12.
So we got 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Maharaj is leaving at half 12. So anybody wants questions? Anybody's got any questions?
Because you know what they told me? They told me the devotees in Nottingham are very intelligent and thoughtful.
Manish will help us answer questions.
I got
Yes.
a small question.
Yes.
So, in terms of following the regulation and principle, what is the difference between shelter and initiations?
Okay. Yes. Right.
So my question is, do they follow the same kind of principle, both who's being sheltered, who's being initiated, or something?
Yes. If that's the question, do you need to follow the same standards? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Because it's a precursor, it's in preparation for initiation. When you get shelter, I mean, depending, anyway, if you to get shelter from Jayapataka Maharaj, you got to chant 16
Yes,
rounds, right?
all the
Everything.
four regulated.
Yeah. So then there's a period of time, it's sort of like a testing period, once you've got shelter, to see if you can manage it and maintain it comfortably, you know? Because some people, well, old habits die hard, we mentioned. Like sometimes when I'm staying in devotees' houses, when they're not looking, I check their fridges. The fridge. And sometimes you see they've got some achar, which if you read the small print carefully, you see it.
Pickle.
You see it's got some garlic or something in it. Yeah, sometimes they're not so careful. So yeah, old habits die hard, and therefore some devotees, they struggle. You know, they struggle to not even like to avoid onions and garlic. That's sort of a bit of a classic. To avoid onions and garlic, particularly if you've got family members, and you know they're real onions and garlic fans, and you have to visit them sometimes. You know, these types of social situations, and you got to tell them, or like your mother. I mean, I had it with my own mother. Yeah, that she wanted to cook for me when I would visit, but she just didn't understand about onions and garlic. So in the end, I just had to tell her, listen, you know, I'll just cook for myself. and I'll give you some. And she would be waiting with her spoon for when I offered what I'd cooked, when I visited them at home. So, but yet, from shelter to initiation, it's a testing period. And some people, they can't maintain, like particularly that one. Occasionally someone's very attached to smoking, or a married couple, you know, they're attached to sexual relationship beyond the proper standards for initiated devotees. These things happen. Not everyone makes it from the time of receiving shelter, being accepted as an aspiring disciple, to the time of initiation. Not everybody makes it. Some drop away. Yeah. So it's like that. But then once you're initiated, then it's too late. You can't do those things. If you do those things, any of those things, it's going to be really bad. It's really not good. It's while a person's not initiated, it's not as bad. It's not good at all, but it's not as bad if, you know, they're sort of addicted to some of these things. But when they're initiated, then you really get reactions if you break those principles. So must they?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That's clear.
Anyone? Oh,
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Apologies if I've misunderstood anything. I just want to ask a question because I know you were talking about how some old Hindu families have it die hard in terms of worshipping the demigods. But I just wanted to ask, is it okay if you pay your respects, obviously devoting your attention to Lord Krishna, but pay your respects to Lord Hanuman and Shiva as greater devotees than myself?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, depends what you mean by offering respect. You know, Prabhupada was asked that if we feel some attraction to some of these demigods, what should we do? And Prabhupada said the best thing to do is to chant the particular verses from Brahma Samhita. There's a verse for Durga, there's a verse for Shiva, there's a verse for Lord Brahma. Yeah, the best thing is to chant those verses. As soon as you start getting into keeping deities of them, along with Krishna and, you know, our regular Vaishnava deities, then you're entering into a sort of a marginal area, you know. Yeah. Hanuman is different because Hanuman is not a demigod. Lord Shiva is. Hanuman is a devotee of Lord Ram. So that's different. So, you know, I don't think you could really be criticized, you know, like genuinely, like you've actually done something wrong. If you have a little figure of Hanuman or Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, obviously they're not demigods. Yeah. But if you're going to keep deities, you must look after them, treat them as persons, because they are. They're not representations. They're not symbols just to remind us that, oh yes, oh Krishna. They're actually there in person. And, you know, like it's like having children. You can't tell your children that, you know, we're going on holiday without you, so you won't eat. We'll be back in a week. You can fast for a week. And don't worry, we'll be back in a week. You know, if you've got deities, ideally you should take them with you if you go on holiday or go somewhere. But you really got to look after them. And, you know, but if you start keeping a Shiva linga, you're kind of getting on the other side of the margin. So it would be better to just respect within the mind and chant the prayer to Lord Shiva. Or, in the Bhagavatam, in the 4th canto there, Lord Shiva's prayers to Vishnu, they're really nice. They're amazing prayers, actually. So you can chant those prayers of Lord Shiva to the Supreme Lord.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I have a question regarding the shloka what you told Paripashnena. It's like inquiring means what should be the nature or how should be the attitude of we should have while inquiring with our guru or
Okay, that's a very important point. The mood should be that this is my master and I am inquiring from him, and his answer to me I will accept. Not that, okay, so he is a teacher, he knows a lot. I will ask him, he will give me an answer, and I will then go and ask someone else, and I'll get all these different answers from different people. Then I'll decide which answer I want to accept. When your spiritual master gives you an answer to a question, you should take it. This is it. And that's the end. The question is answered. Like that. Yeah. Otherwise, if you're not ready to do that, then you shouldn't be initiated yet. You shouldn't formally accept initiation until you've reached the point where, as far as you're concerned, whatever he says, that's it for me. Yeah. Is that okay? Mataji.
Please accept my humble obeisances and to Prabhupada Gita. Prabhupada, I've been inspiring for 4 years, but I am following 4 regulative principles, but I still feel like I need to improve myself for initiation.
Right.
So is it okay to wait? But then I know my time is ticking. I'm getting older, and when I read the shloka, the thing, then I've been saying I can't wait to have a spiritual master.
Right.
But then at the same time, waiting, and now we are moving house, and I was worshipping Durga Ma before came to Krishna God because of ignorance, because we didn't know anything better. Grew up in a small village. Now I'm moving house because I've still got the pictures and like a shivlinga given to my daughter by somebody. So I've got everything, and I still feel like my daughter. She's the youngest. We want to pay respects. So still haven't got the heart, but you have given the answer that we should give them to friends. So I have taken some of them to the people to give away.
Yeah.
So should I give away everything then? Because I have got a boat from Mela, like Shiv Parivar, Ram Parivar, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Ganpati.
Really, from the manner.
From the manner.
You didn't say that out.
Yeah, so that's my dilemma,
Okay. Well, I think they're being a little naughty, actually.
Yeah,
Really?
because we didn't know, and we think, oh, wow, so beautiful, so...
That's an interesting point. But anyway, as far as your personal situation and in relation to initiation, who knows for any of us, even any of the children, who knows? Someone may be dead tomorrow, even just a little child. And what to speak of someone who's, over 60 or over 70 or something like that. So the thing is, we will never, if we're serious devotees, we will never reach the point of thinking, right, I'm fully qualified now. I have made it. I've reached the point of full qualification. But we can know when we've reached the position of sufficient qualification for initiation. And what that basically means in simple terms is chanting 16 rounds is not a struggle. You manage it. And you've been doing it for now, you say 4 years. Normally we set a minimum of a year. And following the regulative principles, you can manage it. And it's not like a battle whenever you see an onion in the shop. Okay, I'm just joking, but I'm also not joking too. So, you can manage it, and it's okay. You're comfortable. And you associate with the devotees. You do some service like that, You're sort of like a regular devotee in the devotee community. Then you are qualified enough for being initiated. If you're still struggling with any of whatever it is, any of these things, then you must know that you're not ready yet.
I'm only struggling with, I think it's with the age, my memory, because before I was very proud of my memory, but now I struggle to recall things. Like I'll listen attentively, but then I cannot recall things if I have to tell. So
I have the same problem. We may be around the same age, I don't know. But I am very good at forgetting things. I can forget almost anything.
But I'm thinking, my spiritual master, they can just bestow their mercy. So, because I would love to preach. And
Prabhupada was once asked, do you know everything? And Srila Prabhupada said, no, I don't. But Krishna does, and he tells me. Yeah. So if you're a very sincere devotee, Krishna will tell you whatever you need to know. So anyway, I would say, it sounds to me like you're ready enough. And don't put it off in just, forever, because it does make a difference. We do it because it does make a difference. Yeah, it makes a difference to you, like how you feel in your Krishna consciousness. You feel better. Everything becomes better and nicer and easier. And it makes a difference in terms of your connection with the Lord. He will accept you more. It's not that he doesn't accept you now at all, like you're sort of nobody. No, he knows who you are. But he'll accept you quite a bit more when you're initiated. So I would say do it whenever Prabhuji is willing to give a recommendation. Okay. I think that's about it, isn't it? Okay.
I was told you have to leave now, is it?
I think so.
Yeah. And none of the devotees are having prashad here?
Okay, thank you so much. We're fine, thank you.
Should we make one plate at least?
Make some to take away.
You can make 4 from China. So.
Yeah, one plate.
Yeah.
Okay. One packet, please. Is it okay if we take a photograph with all?
Yes, please. I'd be very happy. Where's my man?
I'll sort it out.
He sometimes disappears.